Hi.
Hello guys, we are back for the conclusion, for now, of the Crave series because the 4th book doesn't come out until September. And I can't believe I'm like saying that I'm so upset about that. Like, I want to read it now. This series has totally captured my heart, captured my brain. I've just been obsessed with it. Quick recap if you guys didn't watch my first 2 videos. I'm just repeating myself over and over. This series, fully bought it because I thought it was gonna be a Twilight ripoff. I was bored. I was like, I want an easy read. Let me check it out. It'll be fun. Ended up being nothing like Twilight. Overall, yes, I feel that it's got a very like immature narrator voice, like not the greatest writing, many plot holes and things that are just kind of like, but like I cannot put it down. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like Covet might be my favorite book I've read in 2021 so far. Which is wild. I don't know, it's definitely the book so far that like I have not been able to put down. Like the one that I just like flew through the fastest. But yeah, let's talk about it. I have so many thoughts. Overall, as you can tell, I loved it. But guys, I'm so wildly surprised by this series just because when the series started out, it was so simple. Like Crave, the first book, I mean, top to bottom, it was your typical young adult fantasy teen romance. I mean, girl's parents die, girl goes to new school across the country. Things are not what they seem. There's a mysterious boy. Oh, he's bad, but I still can't stop thinking about him. Oh, there's tension. Oh, we get closer, closer. Oh, big moment, big climax, whatever, smooch smooch, we're together. And then some crazy ish happens at the end. She almost dies, but of course she is saved. Gay. End of story. You know, like it's still interesting. I eat it up. We all eat it up. We love that kind of stuff. But I mean, it wasn't anything like super complex. It wasn't anything like crazy original, anything that like I hadn't read before. But of course I liked it enough that I'm like, I'm gonna continue on with this series. I'm interested to see where it goes. You know, in the first book, Jackson is the love interest, and we hear about how he had a brother named Hudson who was, you know, evil, and Jackson had to kill him. Kind of scandalous, but yeah, like Jackson killed Hudson because he was killing students at Cabmere Academy because he was trying to take over the world. But then of course, you know, at the end of Crave, it's a whole thing. Hudson ends up being stuck inside of Grace's head. She's a gargoyle. They're stuck together for 3 months. She comes back alive from being a gargoyle, turns out of being stone. How do you phrase that? I don't know. And Hudson is now stuck in her head. So like the second book is like, okay, we've added in that sprinkle of scandal because there's a bit of a love triangle, you know. If there's a hot vampire brother stuck in your head, you're bound to feel something for him, right? And then, you know, it gives you that quest moment because it's like, okay, we have to go find these 5 things in order to free Hudson from Grace's mind and get everything back to normal, save the day. And then we start to, of course, realize Hudson was not the villain we thought that he was. Again, tensions rise. Things with Jackson and Grace are kind of like, ooh, like on the fritz. And then at the end of the book, like, you know, Hudson is not a villain at all. Turns out that he was just trying to stop their father, Cyrus, who is the real villain, the vampire king. And then Jackson and Grace's mating bond is destroyed, and now she's mated to Hudson, and it's like, oh my gosh. So like, again, like I don't want to say it's trash, but like, it's trash. It's trash, but the best kind of trash, you know, like but this book, Covet, our queen, this book really like took things to the next level. Like this was no longer we're a bunch of teens chilling at a paranormal high school. Like stuff went down in this book. I mean, obviously the book starts out now and like Jackson and Grace are still trying to be together even though their bond is severed because they still love each other. But like Grace is mated to Hudson, so obviously like they're meant to be together. They're gonna be drawn together. There's that whole issue at the beginning. That's like a whole chunk of the beginning of the book of her trying to kind of deny her feelings for Hudson. Hudson obviously has feelings for her, but is like not trying to push her. Jackson's just like in torment. So I mean, yeah, it very quickly becomes apparent that like Jackson and Grace are just not gonna work out. Like, and Jackson bites that bullet and like breaks up with her fairly early on. which like I love Jackson and Grace's like their whole thing in the first book I was here for, but like I told y'all in the last video, like I am Team Hudson through and through. That man, Jackson literally, which you're supposed to love Hudson, right? Like Jackson is like very like tall, dark, mysterious, whatever, but he's very like, oh, tormented, oh, I have to protect Grace all the time. It's very like Stefan versus Damon Salvatore, right? Like Stefan / Jackson is like her epic love, like they're like whatever, like it's puppy love, like I'll do everything to protect you, but like Damon / Hudson is like the one who truly like sees her full potential and like wants to push her to be the best version of herself and like truly believes in her and like knows she can handle herself but wants to be there for her, wants to protect her, like all around just like the better option. And just his personality, I was obsessed with Hudson, his little like Armani suits he wears all the time, all of that. So I loved the whole like first third of this book where that's really like the focus. The whole deal with this book is like, okay, how are we going to like defeat Cyrus? Like we need to figure this out. The only way it appears is to get to the crown, which this is the other thing, okay? I liked this book, but like I feel like so much of Tracy Wolff, yes, that's her name, like blanked for a second. Her storylines are just a bit like, you have to just kind of be like, okay, you have to just like not question it, because like things just get said, like you just have to accept things as they are, you know? Like someone will just say like, oh, this is how it is, and you just have to like, okay, like there's so many things that like don't really make sense, like the Jackson Grace mating bond, oh, it was created by the bloodletter, and oh, it broke apart, and then we find out like, oh, their souls shattered at the same time that their bond was broken, and because Grace so quickly made it to Hudson, her soul attached itself to Hudson, but Jackson is alone, so his soul is just tattering apart. It's like, huh, like there were just several things like that where you're like, okay, interesting. So now it's like, oh, Hudson, I have to go be with Jackson so that I can repair his soul. You'll be fine. That was the whole thing. What even happened? Oh, like Cyrus, because Hudson at the end of the last book like turned all of his bones to dust and is clearly like against him, he now has a warrant out for his arrest, and it's a whole thing because Grace is his mate. She can go to prison with him, but this version of prison is called like the Ethereum. It's like the 7 levels of hell, I guess, and it's like horrible. So they're basically like, when they're on Katmere grounds, he can't be arrested, so every time they have to sneak off to like go find this crown or figure out a way to defeat Cyrus, they have to like do it in the night and be sneaky, because if they're caught off campus, Hudson can be arrested. And we get to go see like the whole dragon court sphere. Flint's parents are the Dragon King and Queen. They go to some dragon event. That's a very big moment for Hudson and Grace. Flint's mom is a total like biatch. You are literally meant to hate her like this entire book, because she's like working with Cyrus, because she just like hates Hudson, and like because Hudson killed her son, and she just wants to protect her other son, so she's gonna side with Cyrus because like he's obviously the one that's gonna win. Like there was just a lot going on, and then totally unsuspected, Hudson does actually end up getting arrested, and then like Grace goes with him, of course, but Flint also gets arrested because Cyrus has to be like, there you go, Nuri, like just shove it in her face. So yeah, like the whole like last third of this book is spent in that prison, which I didn't think was gonna happen. Like I was like, there's no way that Hudson's actually gonna get arrested. Like this is like, ooh, he's getting arrested. Like no, the whole like last third of the book took place in the prison, and it was like so interesting in the beginning. Once again, when she's trying to explain how the prison works and how like there's different levels of the prison, and you get sent to different like chambers, and you have to go through these different trials and like stuff like that to get to the pit, and the pit is where they're gonna find the way that they can escape. Like that was just like a little hard to follow and a little all over the place. I mean, they go through lots of trials and tribulations. I'm not gonna like go through it all, but it was very interesting. They lost me. There was a little part there in the middle where I was kind of like, okay, like just trying to get through this, because it was a little slow. It was a little like, what's happening here? But you know, towards the end, because they didn't have their powers in this prison, so they're like useless. But then of course, epically. They fight their way out. We meet a couple of new characters, Remy and Calder. Remy is a warlock. I was obsessed with his character. He was super fun. He was like a guy from New Orleans, and he had like that New Orleans accent, and he called Grace Cher. It reminded me of Renee from True Blood. Like, that's how I read his name, like in his accent, like, Cher, you know I was born ready. That's a horrible interpretation of the accent, but like, yeah, I loved his character. We're definitely gonna like see more of him in the next book. But yeah, I mean, the book is pretty much left with like Hudson, Flint, and Grace escape prison. Remy has to stay behind. They get back to Katmere Academy, and like all the students are gone, including Uncle Flint, and like everything is up in flames, and it's because Cyrus, oh my god, I literally missed a whole part. They try to get the crown, so they have to go back to the unkillable beast, and Flint almost dies, and so Grace has to like almost drain all of Jackson's power to save Flint because Cyrus bit Jackson because he's freaking rude. Literally hate him. That's kind of your son, but whatever. Yeah, so we like really thought Jackson was gonna die for a minute, and I was like, there is no way. There's no way, right? But then I was like, she's really about to kill Jackson. Like, I was so sure because she doesn't mind killing off the character. I mean, we killed off Xavier and Luca. Luca freaking died, which there's a lot of characters in this book, I'm not gonna lie. Like, she has such a big friend group, and like it's kind of like now I have it down, but like in the beginning it was kind of hard to keep up. I'm like, there are a lot of characters, and like none of them really have much development or personality that are individual to themselves. Like, a lot of the dialogue in this book is just very like, okay, like anybody could have said that, you know? Like, I don't feel like, I mean, Hudson and Grace, I feel like have very kind of distinct personalities, but the rest, even including Jackson, I kind of don't feel like have anything that's like super special or particular to them, which I love character development. I love when people have like strong personalities. I mean, Remy had the freaking strongest personality of anyone in this whole book. That's a whole nother point. But yeah, I was really so sure that, I mean, Jackson was like dying, and then at the last second, Flint's mom gave her dragon heart to like save Jackson. If anybody is watching this and didn't read this book, they're gonna be so very confused. So I'm just gonna assume you read the book. But yeah, that whole scene was crazy. I was in such suspense. I was so stressed out. Whenever Hudson, oh my god, whenever Hudson was like, screw this, and like went and just started using his powers to like obliterate things, because he's been trying to like hold that back his whole life, so his father like wouldn't know that he could do that. Also, like, so he wouldn't lose control and like kill a bunch of people. He was like, screw this, you killed my brother, bam, bam, turn everyone to dust, turn this whole place to dust. Like, I'm obsessed. I mean, Jackson, whenever we found out he had the telekinesis in the first book, it was like, oh, I mean, kind of hot. But like Hudson obliterating anything he looks at is like way hotter. But yes, that's pretty much it. Right now we're left with Katmere Academy up in flames. Nobody is there except for the nurse, Maurice or Maris, not sure. Maurice? I think it's Maurice. And the unkillable beast is now human again, and he says basically that Grace is gonna save the world, and then there's a comment from Hudson that he knows that there's more to her than we currently know because of her strings, her gargle string, her mating string, whatever. Whenever he was in her mind, he saw a bright green string. He's like, maybe it's time I tell her about that green string, and it's like, ooh, that was our cliffhanger. So in conclusion, really loved the book. I thought that it had, like I said, the story was a little all over the place at times, a little hard to follow, and you just kind of had to accept, like, okay, don't think too much into it. A lot of this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but yeah, some of the character development wasn't the greatest, but like overall, I love Hudson. I love Hudson and Grace. Still found her whole like overly feminist, don't help me, I'm just gonna like get myself killed so that you don't have to lift a finger attitude. Kind of annoying. It was a little less in this book for sure, but it was still there. For how much I love this book, I'm like crapping on it a lot. I have to give all the points, you know? I have to give the pros and the cons. I have to be unbiased. No book is perfect, so I'm just giving my thoughts. That's the point of this channel. But yeah, this was a hot mess. But if you guys read this book, if you liked it, if you hated it, if you felt any type of way, please leave me a comment. I hate that I have to wait until September for the 4th book to come out. That's like another 5 months. Crazy how much I fell in love with this series, but yeah, I'm so interested to see how it ends. This one was thick. She was like 700 pages and the words were a lot smaller, so it took me a minute to read, but yeah, so curious to see how it wraps up. Maybe I'll check out some other books by Tracy Wolff. I don't know. Apparently she's written, I read her acknowledgements. She has 66 published novels, which is psycho. But yeah, I'm going to switch over to From Blood and Ash. Very excited about that. I've already started reading it. I'm like 85 pages in. I started it last night and I couldn't put it down. My friend and coworker Lachlan sent it to me from my Amazon wish list. I'm literally gonna link her bookstagram in the description. She has the most killer bookstagram. She puts so much effort into her beautiful pictures. I love her reviews. It's great. You should definitely follow her if you're into bookstagrams or all those kind of things. But yeah, my Amazon wish list is in the description. Just saying, no pressure, but people sometimes ask, so it's there. But yeah, until next time, I will see y'all later. Bye.